Intro Algebra Lesson 4-8b. Continuing our theme with function notation, let's take a look at this problem here where it says to graph f of x is equal to 5x minus 4. At first glance, people might be a little concerned with this f of x, not sure what to do with it. They want to try to get f alone. Should they move the x? Should they make an input-output table? In actuality, it's much, much easier than that. We know from last time that anytime you have this is called function notation. All right? So function notation is the f of x, this right here. F of x is exactly the same as y. So I can replace that f of x with the letter y and say 5x minus 4. Y equals 5x minus 4. You can change that to plus negative, and if you want, you can give your slope rise over run. And now you've got plenty of information to make your graph. You've got a y-intercept at negative 4. And according to the graph, you're supposed to go up 5 and right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right 1. Now I'm going to go off the graph if I keep going. But remember, a slope of 5 over 1 is the same as negative 5 and left 1. So we could go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and left 1. And that is plenty to make our graph. So in reality, even though it was in function notation, it was just a y, which is y equals mx plus b. Piece of cake. We got our y-intercept, which we always start right there. And then our slope tells us to go rise over run, up and down, left or right. The rest of the graph is easy. Our last example, find the slope of the graph of the linear function f. This may seem very crazy, and people are like, I have no idea how to solve for this slope. Well, you are going to use our good old friend, the slope formula. And someone might be saying, what? That usually involved coordinates. These are actually coordinates. They may not look like coordinates, but they are. Remember, f of x, in this case f of 6, is the rule being applied to 6. So 6 is an input, and we did the math to 6, and output was negative 1. Then we applied the rule to 3, and the output was 8. If you recall, coordinates are usually written x, comma, y, or in, comma, out. Because the x value is our domain, which stands for the inputs, and the y value is our range, which stands for the outputs. So we have input and we have output. We have two coordinates. You've got 6, comma, negative 1, and you have 3, comma, 8, which is more than enough information to find the slope. You label x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Always start off with a line, 2 subtraction signs. So we labeled y sub 2 as 8. We labeled y sub 1 as negative 1. We labeled x sub 2 as 3. And x sub 1 is 6. Plus positive plus negative. 8 plus 1 is 9. 3 plus negative 6 is negative 3. Now you can simplify that down because they're both divisible by 3 to say 3 over negative 1. And that's our slope. Or negative 3 over positive 1. Same thing. So finding the slope from these two coordinates seems like it's tough. Just have to remember that the number in the parentheses is your x, and what it equals is your y. Input, output. And you have your coordinates.